Hey, so
Okay, wonderful.
again,
There we are. There we are. Okay, good. Hey, so again, welcome, and Marie Russell.
So
thrilled to
today's
be
session,
here and
spilling the tea.
adopting business intelligence for making Marines. So obviously, an inside look at on this briefing and the United States Marine Corps Training Education Command journey to adopt Microsoft 365 tenant capabilities, and most especially Power BI or business intelligence. The brief will discuss what Power BI is and what it can do for decision support and what's possible with 365 tenant capabilities and license structures, etc. Today's speaker is Mr. Morgan McGarry, who is Knowledge Management Officer, KMO, for United States Marine Corps Training and Education Command. He has a combined 34 years of knowledge management, information management, and administration experience to include an extensive information technology background. He's retired Air Force, having served 23 years. Mr. McGarry's civil service career has included 8 years as the KMO to United States Strategic Command, where he also helped spin up new KM programs for United States Cyber Command, the United States Space Command. He's heavily engaged with the Joint Knowledge and Management community, having authored the Standard Knowledge Model and Unified Core Competencies, which are now published in both Army and Air Force service regulations for KM, and his programs have been recognized as best practice by joint inspection teams during global combat exercises. Mr. McGarry's other civilian and military assignments is very long, so I won't go to all of them, but a few key ones. He's Knowledge Management Officer, United States Strategic Command, Information Assurance Officer, Air Force Weather Agency, and many others. Something of note here at the end, he also served one tour of special duty with the Air Force Entertainment Group, Tops in Blue, visiting 135 military installations around the globe, and was deployed to both Afghanistan and Qatar. So very good, very interesting, and many awards in your background. So I give you and welcome Mr. McGarry. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Really appreciate your interest and attention today. I want to preface my conversation by saying the adoption of 365 capabilities as provided by DISA to the rest of the DoD structure and our federal partners as well is one of the most revolutionary things to happen to command and control and decision making in the history of the Department of Defense. And today I'm going to talk about some of the reasons that is, thank you, and talk about how we can get our workforce, who is currently sitting on average between 30 to 60% retirement eligible, how we can get those people trained on using these capabilities to produce decisions faster in a more automated fashion, reduce manual labor, and transfer knowledge at the time of creation. And that's what we're really after in our decision cycles, shortening them, getting them more accurate. I'm sure we have all been in briefings, whether it's corporate or federal, where we've seen someone raise their hand and go, that slide is 5 days old, or that information is 5 days old. Why am I looking at that? This is the third meeting, it's been 5 days old. So I'm going to talk today about business intelligence and how we in the Marine Corps Training and Education Command have latched on to these 365 capabilities, specifically Power BI in this case, and SharePoint and Teams for storage and collaboration to get at using these tools. So how do we get our force to use them? So first, our standard disclaimer. This is for general information purposes. We are not espousing a particular capability or another. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Education and Training Command, what it is that we do, to give you some context about the complexity of training Marines. It might not be as simple as you think. How we got about discovering where the problems were and what they were with sharing information and doing smart reporting. And then how do we leverage the existing infrastructure, contracts, and support to get capability quickly, not just for your own organization, but working collaboratively and in coalitions with other members inside your service component to get it for everybody. I never do anything as a knowledge management person for just my unit. I always try to do it for all units. And then how do we scale up our workforce and get them ready to use these tools? A little bit about cultural adoption and kind of getting the change of behavior. And then how do we keep that momentum moving and seeing some results? So Training and Education Command takes people from off the street from all over America, sometimes from other countries. We run them through our recruiting depots, primarily in San Diego and Paris Island, and we transform them into Marines, ready to be the fiercest fighting force on planet Earth. We take those Marines after they've completed recruiting, and we move them through their entire professional military education spectrum from the day they start as a Marine to the day they depart and become a civilian again. Throughout that entire process, intermixed, we are exercising them on the training and education that we provide. So we have mobile combat ranges where we do things like aviation training and artillery strikes and special force type operations. One of our ranges out at Camp Pendleton is one of the largest military ranges out there. So we really cover the full spectrum of training and developing human beings to be Marines. So that gives you some idea of just how expansive our job jar is. So 365 is helping us deliver a lot of that training through innovation, and I'll talk about some of those things as we go through this brief. This is some of the locations that TCOM is at across the United States, so you can see we're kind of all over the place. Primarily, our headquarters is housed out of Quantico, Virginia. I myself am a full-time telework guy out of Nebraska. So with all these new virtual tools, I can actually do that. I can work from a distance. I want to highlight that because we have an opportunity now in the Department of Defense and the feds to hire more talent from outside our local and regional areas. You'll see this happening a lot in the data skill force, right? So we're trying to bring in data professionals to train us, to get us kick-started with all of this new capability. And most of them, a lot of them, are being hired at a distance as teleworkers because a lot of data work can be done virtually. So it's starting to open up our minds to the fact that I can get an expert from Silicon Valley to join my team and not require them to move where their family is settled and they've got quality of life and all those good things. So these virtual tools are very powerful. So this is a very long assembly line of capability to construct Marines, orchestrating all of these locations. We have university partners that work with us for our professional military education. We have classroom facilities. We have ammunition and planes and all kinds of things to facilitate any given training. So our TCOM mission, a lot of people when they see it, they think civilian recruit, Marine at the far side. But often making Marines equates to supply chain management. So as a leader, I'm trying to assure all of the resources in my environment are lined up appropriately, my capacity, to train Marines to the requirement. So the mission, my Marine force or my joint force, tell me, hey, in order to enact a plan against an adversary, I need 1,000 riflemen. So we need to have 1,000 riflemen ready to go in our force. That is my requirement as delivered through plans. Now I have to sit down with all of my resource people and find out, do I have classrooms? How many people can I fit in the classrooms? Do I have instructors in those classrooms? Do I have computers in those classrooms? So I have to start to capture all of the different elements of the supply chain through reporting. This reporting is happening in very small pockets, tiny little stovepipes of excellence. There's a facility guy who's managing facilities. Do I know the state of all of my facilities at any given moment? I'm at the strategic level trying to determine if I can shift instructors from one course to another course because maybe I don't have enough. Maybe one of my buildings is from 1965 and it has a water leak, and that is no longer part of my capacity. I have to know the state of that building in order to continue to train Marines to the requirement. So we also have technology, computers, networks, licenses, all that have to be assigned to complete this training. And then we have ammunition at those training places. We actually manage the training capacity for all ammunition. So there's a combat reserve that has to be held if we go to war. There's some for training that's reserved, etc. And then finally, I've got weapons and vehicles. I've got planes, amphibious vehicles, training simulators, VR and AR capabilities in our innovation departments. That is a lot of stuff to make sure that one Marine gets trained as an aviator, a rifleman, etc. And our adversaries are changing their tactics constantly. So the Marine that I used yesterday to fight a beach battle, maybe in some particular country or another, now I have to train them to be more like a special operator. I may be dropping them on the coast of an island somewhere in the middle of the Sea of Japan, and they need to be able to operate a drone to do reconnaissance, and they have to be able to adjust their plans, be critical thinkers. That's a very different kind of Marine than the Marine from the 60s, right? I need a thinking, ready to move and adjust on their feet type of Marine. So in order to get some of this information captured, where are my facilities, my bullets, my people, am I doing the right things? We have to try and adopt an analytical approach and capture data wherever it's being generated. So we started to walk around the command and actually meet with people and ask things like, what briefs are you giving today regularly to leadership? So if I'm in the staff meeting and my 3-star general is asking, how many people have we trained to the requirement up to this time of year? I need to make 1,000 Marines. How many have you made? 900. I provide a brief regularly that tells them that. If I'm reporting on ammunition stocks, if I'm reporting on technological innovations, key leader engagements where I'm meeting with universities, foreign partners, how are they training their Marines? These are the things I need the business to tell me. This is not a data team job to go do. If anything, you can equate knowledge management, which is what I do, to an IT-related skill in service management. It's a business relationship manager or a customer relationship manager. I learn and understand the business, the decisions being made in the business, and then I align resources to those decisions. So I work with my data team, I work with my CDO, my CIO, and make sure that all of the dots and digits are turning into reports and showing up in meetings so that we can make good decisions. So first question was, what are you already briefing the commander? Those are probably key measures. The second is, where do you get the data for those things? And you can see through some of these bullets here, in a lot of cases, we discovered that people were keeping the data only in their brain. And we've had cases where our commander has been asked to go give a report to some congressional briefing or somebody up at headquarters Marine Corps, and there's one person in our unit who has the answer, and he needs it now. He's going across the river to go give a report. And we have to make phone calls and struggle to find that guy that's on leave. In other cases, if we were luckier, people are filing things in PowerPoint slides. And that PowerPoint slide is not dynamic. It's probably stale. It doesn't get updated until the person asks for an update. Then the human goes and does a lot of manual labor and produces the new slide. So that was a good case, at least a little better than only one guy having it in his brain. And then the third, even better prospect is they have a spreadsheet somewhere that they're maintaining. All those things are okay. At least we knew where it was coming from, so we could make it better. And then we ask, how many impromptu requests for this information are you getting, right? I wait until someone asks me what the status of my work is, and then I tell them. And the onus of reporting this information is very burdensome, not only to the leader, but the AO or the action officer that has to produce the information. Because once you get the request, you're then probably going to spend the better part of a day producing a slide that has to be reviewed again, and pre-briefed to somebody before it goes to the boss and it's acceptable, right? And then finally, how long does it take you to make the slides, that last bit? So these were some of the common problems that we found, but one really great nugget that I highlight at the bottom of this list of bullets is that we had a lot of thirsty action officers wanting solutions to these problems. They are painfully aware of how long it took them to provide answers to bosses and how it stopped or interrupted their main job to give a report instead of doing the job, right? So good problem discovery is key. You got to reach out and find out where stuff lives. So now we kind of have an understanding of the gaps and the problems. How do I get the capability in-house rapidly? 365 is now available across all the services. Air Force has got it, Army's got it, Navy, etc. This is providing a unique opportunity for us because not only did we have a lot of stovepiped network environments, almost every unit, maybe around the company level, had their own networks, right? And so to get access to any collaborative product I was working with them on, I would have to ask for an account on their network, then get permission to the place on the network that it lived, and then we could actually get working. And sometimes those requests could take weeks depending on how overloaded the IT department is. Now, my entire service is in the cloud tenant. An Active Directory lets me get to anywhere in the cloud tenant. And if I don't have permission to a specific resource, the owner of the permission can immediately and instantaneously grant access that I just requested 1 minute ago. That is a game changer for interoperability. When I worked in the joint environment as Strategic Command, there was no battle that we ever engage in that doesn't involve less than 6 combatant commands. I want you to think about the scope of the cross-functional teaming required when we have a fight in Europe, right? We also have Transcom providing logistics, Spacecom providing satellite observation and comms, right? We've all these different units are providing functional capability, and we have to collaborate on building plans. So now, not only can I get to stuff in my own tenant easily, but I can pull in people from other tenants. In the limited case, I can pull them in as a guest, and they can have conversations and read documents. If I submit a very quick chat to someone in my enterprise support team on the Marine Corps side, they get added as an external user, usually within an hour, and then they can be full members of my teams, able to edit and collaborate documents. This is so rapid and revolutionary compared to the old way of doing business, where we would have to email slides around to each other, have unauthoritative copies, poor version control. No one knew what the proper copy of the document was. So now, much faster access. So I need to figure out how I get this reporting capability of tools like Power Business Intelligence in 365 into my environment. So the first thing I would encourage people to do is benchmark with other units. Build a coalition to get the requirement. In the Marine Corps case, I looked for other units who had already been doing business intelligence, and it was prior to 365. So MAR4Res, who does our reserve component and logistics command, and even MARCENT, our CENTCOM component of Marines, they were all already engaged in business intelligence initiatives. So they had on-premise capability for all these 365 capabilities that we're talking about. So I went to them and I said, how did you do it? How long did it take? How did you purchase it? And I got lots of lessons learned. But far more important was the fact that they were able to come to my leadership and demonstrate an existing live capability with real data. That can be the difference when convincing your leadership to adopt these new tools and capability. Any new tool or capability on this floor. If you can show it in action, it is no longer a pipe dream, a vision, or a that'll never happen thing. You can actually say, it already did happen. I'm showing you right here, Marines are using this. So the guys at MAR4Res were particularly helpful hosting briefings and showing what they had done to our leadership. And I got to just be the cheerleader saying, we need this, look what it's doing. They don't brief anything from slides. All of their briefs happen from dynamic dashboards and reports. No one wastes manual labor producing that data. It just happens. And I don't need to wait for a meeting to see the report. I can go look at it whenever I want. So it's a game changer. So I highly encourage you to build a coalition. The second thing is, if you're trying to get it installed at your enterprise, the more voices who go to the enterprise and say, turn on this feature that's in our enterprise, the more prioritization it gets and the faster it moves. Using the cloud approach that we have all been delivered, It took my Mar4 Res friends about 2 years, 2.5 years, and a team of 10 people to get Power BI implemented at their command. Using the new cloud capabilities, it took me and 4 months to get it for my command. And then we were able to use a lot of tools that you'll hear today. So coalition building, use the cloud, communicate regularly with that coalition. So how do we get the Power BI implemented? A lot of people didn't understand the licensing structure. So I try to give a lot of capability overviews and help people absorb that. Of all of the capabilities we get from 365, Office, Word, PowerPoint, SharePoint, forms, lists, the list goes on and on with amazing capability. In the Power Platform, which does all this dynamic and automated work for us, Power BI is the one capability that is not automatically included for publishing reports in your license. So if you're a DoD or federal component, you probably have what's called an E3 license. Gives you everything except Power BI. That's the one thing. Now, in order to do a localized report at your desk, you can do that for free. That doesn't cost a dime. In fact, you can download Power BI at home and make reports at home all you want with your own data. It has 150 plus data connectors. So we often pay services contracts a lot of money to build connectors and APIs to reach data. We don't have to do that anymore. We can actually leverage built-in connectors to get to all of that data. It will access text files, CSVs, spreadsheets, SharePoint lists, SQL, Oracle, Salesforce. There's so many connectors. I've even been able to strip data off of a wiki page to get all the Marine base locations. So it's very flexible. So what you do is if you want to publish those reports instead of mailing them around like spreadsheets, then you need a Power BI Pro license. And you don't need to get a Pro license for everyone in your command. Not everyone needs to publish the report. You can give the free license version to everyone. They can author as many reports as they want, and then when they're ready to publish, you give it to a few of the people empowered to publish. So in my command, we got about 75 of those Pro licenses from a Marine Corps pool. So Marine Corps bought a pool of about 2,000, and they said, make requests. We submitted requests, we got the licenses issued, which is as simple as putting people in a permission group. Voila, you have the ability to publish. So once you publish those reports, they're on the web. You don't need a desktop client, you don't need anything, you can go look at them in the web. But for mass consumption beyond your Pro publishers, you need to use something that's called a capacity license. At least that's the most efficient and cost-effective way that we have learned to get the products out to the masses. So if you buy a capacity license, what that means is it makes a certain number of processors and RAM available from the servers to reporting. And all of your Marine Corps users, in our case, can leverage the production of reports until we hit capacity, and then what you'll see happen is you just get slower reports being made. So you can respond and up your capacity as you need and not spend too much or too little. So this is a great way to get the reports that are published available to anyone in the Marine Corps, not just your own unit. So what we did was we talked with Enterprise and we said, let's get capacity. We were going to get I think it's a T1 package for capacity for us. And when they went to Marine Corps wide, they said, let's get a 3, which is, I don't remember how much processor and RAM, but it was plenty for us to get started with smart reporting. So we were able to get that feature turned on and activated very quickly, and people were able to start producing reports. So I really want to encourage you to take that enterprise approach, mainly because of that same thing that makes 365 so powerful. We all have the same tools. If you get it in the enterprise, then I can use it, they can use it, any other unit can use it, we can speak in the same tools, share products. Very awesome for distributed workload. So I have a lot of problems to solve as a KM guy in my unit. I don't want to solve them all. I'm helping people make a lot of reports, but those should be training and education reports. If there are people who are budget people, I want them to make the reports, and then the rest of us just customize them to our own needs. So very great way to be a force multiplier for making a lot of smart reporting across your service or your organization. So great, I got Power BI, I can publish reports, I got a little grassroots cadre of experts who are making reports and helping people, but I need more than just 75 pro users to be making reports. I need everybody to understand reporting capability, possibly make their own reports to give me for publishing. And even my new pro license holders are new pro license holders. They need to learn the tool and get more skilled at it. And this is often very lacking in our IT solutions that we provide the force. We buy a tool thinking that the tool will solve all the problems, but nobody knows how to use the tool, so they don't use it, or they use it wrongly, right? Or it's hard to use because we don't take feedback and they walk away from the tool and we just wasted all this money. So skilling, very important to get people adopting and using the new methods, okay? So we get premium support with every IT solution we accredit. It is mandated. So if I want to buy Windows, I have to have support for Windows. If I buy 365, support for 365. If I buy a mission system that's custom made for me, I have to buy support. So what we discovered is that with our Microsoft Premium support, it is very flexible. We can use that to execute workshops where we actually give some of our data to the workshop trainer. They'll meet us in Microsoft Teams and they will use our data to show us how to build a report. That makes the reporting or the training process relevant and interesting to us. If you're looking at the old Contoso sample data to build training materials, it often doesn't resonate with anybody who's taking the training because they're like, I don't know what this data is. But if I'm training people who do MOS production to produce marine skill sets, if I give them marine production data to build in the training, then my guys get it. They're like, oh, I know what an MOS is, I know what the range stuff is, I know what our requirements are, and then it's meaningful and it sinks in. So we use that premium support to scrape a few hours off of the enterprise. They were very helpful. And then we got 2-day workshops. So we did a 2-day workshop for Power BI, we did 2-day workshops for Power Apps, and 2-day workshops for Power Automate, all part of that Power Platform. But business analytics was the business intelligence. That was the big, how do we know what the heck is going on need that we had first. So we did more classes in that. That was just enough for our workforce to head off and start making reports, trial and error testing. And then we would have brown bags to have people come talk about challenges they were hitting. And you can use those premium support hours to get subject matter experts assigned to you for specific stuff. So I'm currently using premium support hours to get a Power BI SME, a Power Apps SME, Power Automate, SharePoint, and Search. And I can have my users directly communicate to those subject matter experts from Microsoft whenever I want to ask questions when they're stuck. And that really helps people get past hurdles and be more adoptive. So you can really use those premium support hours to train your force and give them the expert advice that they need to get beyond beginner. So I highly encourage you to leverage that premium support. The brown bags I mentioned are really good for, here's what I'm doing, and sharing the thing that they discovered with someone else so they don't have to relearn it. So I would come in and say, hey, I'm going to show you how to scrape information off of a wiki page, because I just learned that. Or I'm going to show you how to make map visualizations and what kind of information you need to make a map of something. We also did web-based learning. So another thing that comes with your E3 license that you've already got for your service people is something called the Enterprise Skills Initiative. It's esi.microsoft.com. Anybody with a license can go out there and take training that is computer-based training on demand, live workshops. You can have dedicated workshops for just your people. You can ask for in-person ones, and you can schedule them out. That resource also includes preparation for certifications, tests, practice tests for certifications, and then actual certification tests that cost nothing. So if you have people with 8510 requirements, I think it's 8510, but it's the security and cert requirements, right? They can actually go complete a lot of those requirements through this. The other thing that's great for employee value and adoption is that you carry those trainings with you when you leave. So when you register, it will ask for your work account. You put your email in, it sends you a link. You follow the link and then put in your personal Microsoft account. You can make one if you don't have one at that time. That way, every training you take follows you. So when you leave, the certs, the CBTs, and everything you did continues with you on to your next job, your next life. The other thing is we used a lot of YouTube. There's some amazing YouTube channels out there. If your agency is blocking YouTube for some reason, please reach out to other units to help them break down that wall. There are so many services and units that are using YouTube, and it's approved that there is literally logically no reason to block it. KM team has led a lot of efforts to unblock things at different units like Twitter, which we use for all kinds of sentiment analysis for events that we do, and then YouTube and other stuff for training. So use those resources. Great, I got the tool, people are starting to understand it. I'm making reports. How do I get people to change their behavior and adopt this as part of their culture? That we're going to use smart reporting now. The first thing is, not even on this list, but I'll talk about it for a second, is communicating the value of the automated reporting. Some real life examples that we have in our own command. We had people in our support battalion. One of my officers is here from the support battalion, who was spending a day and a half cutting and pasting spreadsheets from a training system to get the readiness reporting. So we knew who had completed training, who was medically deployable, all that stuff. This poor guy just spending all day long copying and pasting data from different spreadsheets together, formatting it. Our folks in our personnel and manpower section, if you're in a joint unit like Strategic Command or any of the other COCOMs, your HR people are probably accessing 20 to 22 mission systems to build one joint manpower picture, because each service has 7 or 8 mission systems they're doing HR in. A manpower system, a hiring system, a personnel system, right? That is just a nightmare. So I guarantee you have full-time employees who are exporting and cutting and pasting spreadsheets all day long. And you'll get people who will say, if you automate this, I will lose my job. We all know that based on continuous cuts and reductions since 91, that there's more jobs than there are humans. So there'll be plenty of other jobs that we can use your critically thinking human brain to do, and let this manual drudge work be done by the computer. So I would use that communication case to get your people to adopt, because we've shaved days and weeks off of manual labor. Reports that we had people doing on demand now make themselves, so nobody has to make them. The boss can find out information whenever he wants. We have an 18-page report that automatically generates showing every single maintenance issue of training aircraft at 29 Palms. We now know all the common trends for what brings planes down, things that happen during flight, not during flight. We have all that now, and our current leader used to actually run that unit, so that resonates with him, that he can see training aircraft status whenever he wants. He doesn't have to ask for a report. And aviation has been a big topic for us in training. So talk about the value of time savings and doing work that you can't get to because you're too packed. Second thing is incentivize. So data in some cases takes days reduced to minutes. Presentation, you don't have to manipulate stuff to just paste into a slide deck. That's one big thing that we are still working on, is getting people away from slide decks. Sometimes we automate a report and they will still screenshot the report and put it on a slide deck. But what I can tell you about Power BI and how flexible it is literally any visual that you can possibly imagine can be made, including slide formats. So we have a visits dashboard that shows who are our key visitors coming to TCOM. And one of the pages of that report looks exactly like a TCOM standard slide. It's dynamic data, but I can hit File, Export, and spit it out as a PowerPoint, as a PDF, as a spreadsheet, whatever I want. And it will even put a title slide if you print it out as slides. It's ridiculous how great it is. So highly encourage you to get your people to move away from the slide decks, or at least if they need something that prints and looks like a slide deck in case they go offline, then do it in the dashboard. Demo those new reports to anybody and everybody who will listen, because it shows them the capability that is available to them. Most of the time we're not using tools because we just don't know those tools are there. We are horrible at marketing the capabilities that we do have. So make sure that you're showing people what's been done. This has led to more initiatives making new reports by just showing what has been done with previous reports. We try to share our reports as much as possible outside of our organization. So one of our guys who took the 2-day workshop ran back to his space and he made an ammunition analyzing report that showed the status of all training ammunition and other ammunition in the Marine Corps. And we shared that with Headquarters Marine Corps, and it blew their minds. They had never been able to see that granularity of information about ammunition status in the Corps. It used to take them 3 weeks to respond to a request for information about data. Now, they can get it like that. So they're starting to adopt some of the same capability. Recognize authors. My Marine Corps Center for Lessons Learned guy that is within TCOM has a repository of reports from 1950 something or other. How many people look at those after action reports before they do a new exercise or event? Not that many. But now he's able to analyze and read all of the natural language that's inside the reports, parse it out, and then when you say, I'm going to do exercise, aviation, it will suggest to you the lessons learned in the report that are related to aviation. And then you can click directly on the dashboard to go straight to the report. So this really serves information at the time of request. It is on-demand learning and discovery. One of our other knowledge management symposium events talked about push, pull, and prod. This is a prod approach. Whenever you ask about something, I prod you with some information that's related so you can discover it right there at time of need. We also do innovation challenges in the Marine Corps. So our enterprise folks have set up a great program where they have connected some of these Microsoft SMEs using those support hours to just say, what problem do you have? What do you want to solve out there in the force? Come here, we'll give you some expert help, and then we'll meet with you regularly to give you assistance, and you can solve some problem that we can all learn from and possibly adapt or adopt in our own organizations. That cross communication and sharing what you've done means I don't have to invent that thing. That is great. And then finally, enforce last. We want to incentivize first, but enforce last. So you got to talk to your leaders, you got to talk to your middle managers, and convince them wherever you can to report and live off of live data and reporting so that you're getting rid of the slide decks. There's going to be people who go, I need a printed copy. Wherever you can, burn the printed copy and make them go look at the digital one. Or make the digital one produce the printed copy. So at least they're getting that immediate automated snapshot. And then finally, get people to adopt that in their meetings. We do have some meetings now. It's a slow cultural change that are starting to use the dashboards to do reports. The MAR4 Res guys, at least for about a year now, have been reporting from nothing but dashboards. So I always try to point back to that and say, look, they did it. They've got 1 stars looking at stuff. So remember those things for your adoption. So we're starting to see a lot of momentum from this initiative. We got it adopted quickly for the entire Corps through some very simple existing structures and things. I was able to garner about $2 million of support at no cost to my individual unit. The enterprise is already buying these things. There was no new resources to be generated to support me. I just had to talk to the enterprise and say, hey, you're not going to use all these support hours. Can I request some? And then I use them to empower and enable all of us. So highly recommend you doing that. We're starting to see less requests where I go and ask to fix something that they have, and more offerings where people are coming and saying, hey, I would really like you to be involved in this thing that we're doing. We're currently working on a project to automate urgent need requirements because the folks at Enterprise have an urgent needs system where we identify gaps and they try to solve those gaps. Well, Training Command has a training needs requirement that's very similar, but just needs training focused, right? So we're trying to not make our own thing. We're working with our partners up at headquarters to say, I'm sure these are 95% similar. Can't we just, work with you and have one solution for all of us? So I'm really looking forward to those engagements. Use what's there, right? And more people are submitting those requests to work. Tell your story to other organizations. The things you're doing and innovating on, they may not even know that's a tool that they have. And when you come and show the time and effort and precision decisions that you're making based on that new data, they're going to get started on their own journeys. Time and time again, I run into places. I went to our recruiting depot in San Diego for an effort where we were doing a leveling between San Diego and Parris Island. They had slightly different training materials, and our commander and our policy guys said, these need to match. We need a uniform training experience. So when I went down there and we were talking about repositories, where to put the authoritative training, they barely knew about the 365 capabilities, and they were already trying to automate testing, like giving tests to students or administering training manuals to students. They wanted it to be digital, and they already had the numbers for how much money it would save in paper. So once I showed up and I said, you have all of this, they went berserk. They got all their junior grade people who are all, millennials ready and native to technology, just going, give me a crack at it, boss. And they're making incredible strides. We're now working on a cargo pocket sized tablet, and every test and every material that you get will be delivered through that tablet, and that tablet will go with you through your career. That's what we're hoping to achieve. So every time we give you education, you just whip out your tablet, it's right there for you. More sharing of report types and approaches you're taking. Hear their stories in return. What are they doing at their units? You might find a gold nugget for you to adopt. And then business intel tools are a gateway to requests for other capabilities. So when they come talk to you about dynamic reporting, they might want to leverage your other knowledge management capabilities like facilitation, brainstorming, battle rhythm mapping, mapping those decision cycles of the organization, getting to the people and process parts. This is a great gateway drug, especially in today's data environment. You will be able to show them where their data is now. And I've heard some people say, until we get our data house in order, we can't get started on any of this. What's great about Power BI is it will transform the disgusting data that you have. So you can extract, transform it, clean it up, and display it. And it not only gets you started right away with the reporting, even with the dirty data, but it lets you discover where the dirty data lives. So your data people who are starting to get hired and trying to create data standards and models, they are going to be looking for targets, and you will know the targets. You'll be able to say, hey, the training system talks about last name and social security in a totally different format and naming structure than every other system I've looked at. Please go get that fixed, okay? So again, just took me 4 to 5 months to get that capability. So definitely make sure you're leveraging your enterprise and cloud capabilities. That's the way to get it fast. So with that, I'll pause for any questions about all that. Happy to back up to a slide if you need it. And I really thank you for your time and attention, and I hope you found this useful. If you want more information or demonstrations about stuff, I'll be up here with some cards. I'm happy to answer comm requests from anybody and hopefully get you started on your own journeys. Appreciate it. Mic's available if you've got any questions. Just step up to the mic and ask away. Hi.
Lindsay Poor, Defense Finance and Accounting Service.
Okay.
I'm interested in the front end process to establish those gateways with the source systems. So I want to learn about the challenges that you had in terms of security, like the interface, the technical side, the governance. What are some of those challenges you had, and how did you overcome them?
Sure. So truth in lending, another great thing about Power BI as a tool is that I encourage people to follow a maturity approach. If we wait until all the tumblers are in position for that ideal environment, we'll never get started. So today, most people are accessing mission system data by exporting a spreadsheet. And then they're doing a lot of manual stuff. What I have gotten my folks to do is export the sheet in the rawest system format that spits out, and then don't touch it. Drop it somewhere in a common repository. We use Teams a lot, Teams channels or SharePoint locations. And then Power BI will mine that data, do all the cleaning, the processing, associating, and visualizing. In May timeframe currently is the projected estimate for when a enterprise data gateway will get stood up on our tenant. That gateway will then be the authentication middleman between our on-prem data, like for us in TCOM, it's McTIMS, is the training system, tracks all the training. If anybody else in the Marine Corps wants data from McTIMS, it's not natively in the cloud. So the cloud needs a set of credentials and a connection authority, essentially, to reach into McTIMS and get the data. So when the EDG comes online for the enterprise as a whole, the next job starts where we offer up our mission systems. So I've told people in our steering groups, etc., like, I can't tell you to give me your mission system to put in the EDG, but we can absolutely advocate for our own mission systems that we own. So my guys own McTIMS. I will be on their desk when the EDG stands up going, we need to get you connected to the Enterprise Data Gateway. Then anybody can get their training data whenever they want, and that last manual 5 minutes that we live with today of exporting the spreadsheet will vanish. So our Microsoft teams and our enterprise guys, they've already done the testing of that system, so that's complete. They're just waiting for the final approval to operate to come through, and then it's literally connected and ready with the off switch set to off. So they'll just go click, and then we'll all start connecting our data sources to it. So I hope that helps, but I'm basically telling people, don't wait till you can connect directly to the mission system. At least take the extract now and do all the rest. And then honestly, that is the most consumptive part, the manual processing of the report, not the exporting. It's very short. So in some cases, like our readiness report, that one report is gobbling 18 spreadsheets. And he takes 5 minutes once a week to just go export, export, export of the different types of training reports. And the system gobbles them up, puts them into a single table, gets rid of the columns I don't need, normalizes it, makes a pretty bar graph, and life is good. Did that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Morning.
Yeah.
So I got a teaser about Power BI yesterday at the KM session.
Okay, good.
And I was going to ask, as far as companion products, so if you wanted to not only have that visualization...
Can you lean in just a little more, because I don't think the rest of them can hear you probably.
I don't know what's going on here.
There we go.
I feel like I got to stoop a little bit. Anyway, along with the visualization, what about like workflow and all that kind of capability? Is that like an Office 365
It is,
thing? Or?
and that doesn't cost you anything. So Power BI, there's a little bit of extra licensing, but if you do it in enterprise in bulk, it's not bad. But Power Automate and Power Apps, those are available to you today at no additional cost than your current E3 license you already have. So they are meant to be companion capabilities. So Power BI does data analytics and visualization. Power Automate does workflow. So anything you used to do in 2010 workflows for SharePoint, 2013 workflows, that's all dead. It's all Power Automate now. The great thing about Power Automate, and a lot of people don't know this, is it will not only automate almost every capability in the 365 environment, but it will also automate your desktop. There is a desktop version of Power Automate, and it will literally record your keystrokes and mouse clicks to automate things that are really old, right? There's no connectivity to it. So I get into old Mission System X, and then I have to do a lot of manual clicking. You can just start macro and go click, 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 wait, click, click, and it will repeat those steps. So I'm trying to start some comms with people to get that put in our software center, because it doesn't cost us anything as with our license. So once it's in the software center, we can even do the really, really old stuff with just macros. And then finally, the last one is Power Apps. So Power Apps is intended for you to make full-fledged applications. So if you want to collect, edit, process, all of that stuff, Power Apps is great for that, and it will make everything from mobile all the way up to web-based stuff on a big PC screen. And it's, in terms of expertise, I would label Power BI the easiest to learn and adopt. Power Automate, number 2, and Power Apps the most advanced. It is still low to no code. This whole concept of citizen development is where corporate has gone. So we don't have to worry about the stovepipe of a development shop. Anybody should be able to learn these tools with a couple of days of training and be dangerous, right? Start making tools, start making apps. So all 3 of those are available to you.
So with like 365 going to IL6, I guess that's still in progress.
Yep.
Is Power BI going to be part of that, or?
Yeah, that whole suite of stuff's going to move over there too, and it'll be the
Awesome.
same deal. You'll have to work with your enterprise to talk about those pro license pools, and then an enterprise capacity for consumption. So today, I can publish a report and make it available to anyone in the Marine Corps. They don't have to have anything to come see it.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Good questions. Hi.
Hi. My name is Mauricio. I work with Varonis. For TCOM, I know I talked to you in the past about when you were moving into this L5 tenant, you weren't going to be able at the time to collaborate outside of the tenant. Has Microsoft ended up helping you with that now? Are you able to share documents, collaborate outside of the tenant with Air Force, Army?
Yeah, so they finally implemented Flow 3, which allows us to get into the environment on a non-government furnished device. So I am a full-time teleworker. I have a massive computer that's far better than my government computer sitting to the left, and then my government computer. So I can work on either one on the capabilities. The only limitation that they've placed on us is that when you're coming in from a non-government device, you will not be able to download the products. So there may be some limited functionality between the web app version of PowerPoint than when you're working with desktop PowerPoint. But that's a fairly small limitation in order to get access from wherever, right? So if I'm on the road, wherever I'm at, I can go to anybody's computer on anybody's system, put in my CAC card, as long as it's a CAC-enabled thing, and I can get to it. We can invite in commercial entities into some spaces as guests, but guests also have limited. They won't be able to co-author documents with us. They'll be able to read them. We can do the authoring while we're talking with them, right? So there's still some limitations, and that is a big deal for us because we have Education Command, and they have a lot of university partners. In fact, their entire staff is primarily on .edu email. So they have marine.mil addresses, mail.mil, can't remember which one.
USMC.mil?
Yes, USMC.mil, thank you. So they've got that on their CAC card, but the desk at their machine is a .edu machine. So they can now get to the resources from that .edu box and collaborate with us, and that was a very common roadblock to including them in anything we were doing, because they were like, I don't have an MSEN machine at my desk. So now they don't have that excuse. They got to be in there with us.
Awesome, thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, so we signed the waiver for the slides to be included in the after conference thing. So when the conference is done, all the slides that said, yeah, you can have my slides, they'll be available to all the attendees. Absolutely. That's okay. And I will stay here and straggle for a bit. So when we shut down, if you have more questions or you want to get a contact to get slides, I'm happy to do that.
Any
Thank
last
you
questions?
again.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending.